Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're tracking the explosive growth of artificial intelligence, you already know that infrastructure is the bottleneck, right? But what you might not know is that the data we rely on to understand that infrastructure is fundamentally fractured. Today, we're bringing you an executive briefing. This is actually part one of a 5-part series, and we're going to forensically examine the wildly conflicting research around AI data centers.
Okay, let's dive into this. We're basing our analysis today specifically on Chapter 1 of an April 2026 report by Virtualization Options LLC. They're a Colorado-based technology research, education, and advisory organization. And they highlight a fascinating and honestly deeply concerning premise. As AI infrastructure expands rapidly across the United States, these data centers have become absolute flashpoints for fierce debate. But the battle isn't just over energy and water consumption. It's over the very integrity of the research being used to evaluate those resources. We're seeing stark contrast in conclusions and documented cases where political pressure from the government, along with industry funding, are actively shaping what we're supposed to consider objective data.
So here's our agenda for this explainer. First, the AI infrastructure debate. Second, conflicting power estimates. Third, the water consumption dispute. Fourth, local and environmental impacts. Fifth, assessing research credibility. And finally, the reality of uncertainty.
Okay, starting off with Section 1, the AI infrastructure debate.
The Virtualization Options report identifies 5 core investigative threads that explain exactly why the data is so contentious right now. We've got contested estimates on power usage, deeply disputed data on water consumption, and the often overlooked environmental impacts on local communities. But the last 2 threads are where the story really gets interesting. We're talking about the undeniable influence of industry-funded research and a really troubling trend of government agencies, groups that are traditionally viewed as completely objective, adjusting their scientific posture under political pressure, essentially adjusting conclusions to support current administration policies rather than letting objective research actually drive those policies.
Moving right along to Section 2, conflicting power estimates. Now, what's really interesting about this is how it exposes a massive methodological error in how power usage is being forecasted. On one side of the ring, we have estimates from massive financial institutions like Goldman Sachs. But then, Jesse Jenkins over at Princeton University's Zero Lab points out a critical flaw. He notes that these high-end estimates often conflate announced data center capacity with the actual power draw. Jenkins points out that many announced facilities never actually reach their full operational capacity. Plus, these alarming forecasts regularly ignore improvements in power usage effectiveness, or PUE. So right out of the gate, we've got fundamentally flawed methodologies driving headline numbers. And keep in mind, the technology isn't standing still. Ariel Bergman of the Rocky Mountain Institute published a rebuttal highlighting that efficiency improvements in chip architecture could fundamentally change this whole demand picture. Specifically, NVIDIA's Blackwell GPU generation could reduce the energy per computation by 85 to 90% over the exact same period. Think about that. If you extrapolate outdated energy models without factoring in these massive generational leaps in hardware efficiency, your long-term demand forecasts are just going to be entirely wrong.
Let's transition to Section 3, the water consumption dispute.
If you want to see how wildly industry disclosures vary from academic studies, look no further than this number, 700,000 liters. A 2023 study out of UC Riverside, led by Xiaolei Ren and published in the peer-reviewed journal Nature, estimated that training a single large language model, something comparable to GPT-3, requires approximately 700,000 liters of water when you include upstream consumption. It's a huge number. This stark figure became widely cited in environmental and tech media, painting a very, very thirsty picture of AI model training. So you have to ask, how did the industry respond to that? Well, Microsoft funded and hosted the GPT-3 training on its Azure cloud platform, yet they've never actually published their own estimate of the water used. During a 2023 earnings call, Microsoft CFO Amy Hood was directly asked about those UC Riverside figures, and interestingly, she didn't contest the data. Rather than directly answering the question or fighting the numbers, she just cited improvements in Microsoft's newer data center designs. It was a response that neither confirmed nor denied the 700,000-liter finding. This basically leaves policymakers totally in the dark, forced to rely on independent academic estimates while the actual host remains silent. Moving to Section 4, local and environmental impacts. While headline numbers always focus on gigawatts and millions of liters, local ecological and community-level consequences are frequently minimized in industry-sponsored literature. We're talking about severe land use and zoning friction, industrial-grade noise pollution from massive cooling fans, local heat island effects, and just an immense strain on municipal utilities. When research is funded by the organizations actually building these facilities, these hyper-local impacts are frequently omitted entirely from their executive summaries. It's a big blind spot.
Let's move to and see how this builds in Section 5, Assessing Research Credibility.
If we're going to navigate this deeply contested landscape, we really need an institutional scorecard. The report grades these entities based on funding, independence, transparency, and peer review. Look at the Lawrence Berkeley National Lab, for example. They are the gold standard for methodology, yet the report flags them as having a high risk of political pressure to align with government policies. Then you have UC Riverside, who produced that water study. They have high credibility and no documented industry conflicts. The Rocky Mountain Institute maintains editorial independence despite accepting corporate funding. On the other hand, a group like EPRI is technically sophisticated but structurally conflicted, meaning their demand forecasts should be treated strictly as upper bound estimates reflecting funder interests. Basically, we have to start treating funding sources and political pressure as standard risk variables in our data models. And that brings us to Section 6, the reality of uncertainty. After stripping away all those conflated methodologies, the vague corporate responses, and the political pressure, we have to ask ourselves, what remains genuinely uncertain? What are the true unknowns regarding the future of AI data centers?
And this brilliantly illustrates the frontier of our current knowledge. There are three massive variables here that could materially alter aggregate demand. First, the long-run trajectory of AI workload efficiency. How fast will hardware, like NVIDIA's Blackwell, outpace the actual size of the models? Second, geographic redistribution. Policy, electricity costs, and water availability could push data centers out of traditional hubs and into regions with more capacity. Third, and perhaps most importantly, what fraction of AI inference workloads will be handled at the edge, meaning on your local devices, versus in these massive centralized data centers? The truth is, we simply don't know yet.
Which brings us to our conclusion. As this report clearly demonstrates, evaluating AI data centers isn't just an engineering challenge, it's an information warfare challenge. Effective policy and smart business decisions require navigating not just physical environmental limits, but a deeply contested, highly biased research landscape. Policymakers can no longer take data at face value. They must critically evaluate the source of the data as rigorously as the data itself. So I'll leave you with this provocative question to ponder as we wrap up Part 1. In an industry where trillions of dollars are at stake, who will actually fund the objective truth?